And it's important that for this classic back roll that you don't send it past 12 o'clock, because then it becomes a send front roll. Sorry, I know I'm saying back roll a lot and not front roll. It has to do with that other video. Also, blooper, the board just fell over. Whatever, we're just gonna keep on going. All of these tricks have one thing in common. They all start with a front roll. Just like the back roll, the front roll lies the foundation of many tricks to come, and that's why we're having a look at it today.
When you give me shockwave.
What's up everyone, and how are you doing? I'm currently in Cape Town. The wind is starting to kick in, but we're going to start off with an essay masterclass first. Today I'll be talking about the front roll. We start with a classic front roll, then the Send Frontroll, and end up with an inverted front roll. About 3 weeks ago I released a video about the back rolls where we also looked at these similar tricks. If you haven't seen that one yet, I do recommend looking at it first, as the back roll is probably the first rotation you want to do, and after that you're going to move on into the front roll. Ride in with medium speed and steer the kite up from 45 degrees. Edge hard and pull in your front leg as you pop off the water. Look over your back shoulder to continue the forward rotation. Spot your landing and tension up your stomach muscles to get the board underneath you. Land with a slight downwind angle and absorb the impact. Continue riding at a crosswind course. When practicing this front roll, it's very important that you initiate the front roll by pulling in your front leg and extending your back leg. This will throw you into a forward rotation, and that's exactly what we want. To keep that rotation going, it's important that you look over your back shoulder. If you forget about that, you might land on your back because you got stopped halfway the rotation. Next to that, we want to keep the kite on one side of the wind window. This is a classic back roll, which includes a pop and not a full send of the kite. We're going to look into that next. So keep your kite on one side of the wind window so you keep forward momentum. A very common mistake for the front roll is getting stuck in that forward rotation. This can be due to a couple of things. Most likely it's the head movement, as I already mentioned. Keep looking over that back shoulder. Next to that, it can also be a kite movement. Often when you do a front roll, you tend to pull on your front hand, which means the kite's going to steer down. If you do that before you made a nice rotation, you are going to be stuck in that rotation and land on your back with your kite low. Not so nice. Often it helps if you switch your hands or keep your hands very centered in the bar to minimize the kite movement. Next to that, it can also be that you just don't find the pop. Because with the back roll, it's a very natural movement to actually edge and go into a backwards rotation. But now we need to make sure that we edge but not carve. Remember, edging is putting pressure against the kite, where carving is really steering the board upwind. If you steer your board, or if you carve too much upwind, it's going to be hard to go into a forward rotation from that point. So, if you find it hard to pop and get a rotation done, make sure that you really edge hard and pull in that front leg. Next up, we're going to have a look at the overview of a classic back roll. So, how should you actually send your kite? Ride in with medium speed and steer the kite up from 45 degrees. Edge hard and pop off the water as your kite reaches 1. Only redirect your kite towards 45 degrees when you can spot your landing. Pull your board and legs underneath you for the landing. and steer the kite down in the wind window if power is needed to ride away with speed.
For this classic front roll, you can really see that the kite goes up towards 12 o'clock, but it doesn't pass 12 o'clock. Keep that in mind for the classic front roll. Your timing for redirecting your kite down towards the riding direction is actually when you can spot your landing. As soon as you can spot your landing, feel free to send that kite down a little bit so you land with speed. Next up, we're going to look at the opposite, which is actually a Send Frontroll, where we focus on steering the kite past 12 to get the height, and this can be very useful for later on the big air jumps with a front roll 1 footer, and many other options to come. So check it out.
Ride in with medium speed and steer the kite up from 45 degrees. Edge hard and carve into the wind as your kite passes 1. Pop off the water just before the kite reaches 12 and pull your bar all the way down. Keep your kite at 11:30 during the front rotation until you're coming down for the landing. Redirect your kite towards 1 as you would do with a normal jump. Land and dive your kite down in the wind window for power. Ride out at a crosswind course with your kite at 45 degrees.
As you can see with this Send Frontroll is that the kite does pass 12 o'clock. That basically means that we're going to have way more airtime, and if we would take off with the same rotational speed as we would with a classic back roll, we will most likely over-rotate because we are spending way more time in the air. Therefore, it's very important that once you start edging for this Send Frontroll, that you can edge hard to get the height, but make sure that you don't go too hard on the extending of the back leg and pulling in of the front leg. If you slow down that pulling in of the front leg, you will slow down your forward rotation and end up in a nice way for your landing. Another big part is when to redirect your kite. Remember that with the classic back roll I told you to redirect the kite as soon as you can spot your landing? Well, if you would do that with a sand back roll, you might still be at 4 meters high, and redirecting your kite towards the riding direction would mean that you're gonna land very, very hard. Definitely not what we want. So redirect your kite just before you would land. This is exactly the same as you would do with a normal jump. Until that time, just keep it on the opposite side of 12, so either 11 or 1 o'clock or 11:30 or 12:30, somewhere in that range. Keep it there as stable as possible so you can do your rotation. Next up, we are going to look at the inverted frontroll. We're going to have to build this up step by step. It's not like you're gonna go out there and straight away boost the biggest inverted frontroll you've ever seen. This is something you have to build up through time and repetition. We'll start off with an inverted frontroll where we keep both hands on the bar. It's very important that you know that the invert actually starts at the takeoff, because we're going to really throw our head back and hopefully your body will follow. So let's have a closer look.
Ride in with medium speed and steer the kite up from 45 degrees. Edge hard into the wind as your kite passes 1. Pull in your front leg as you pop off the water and look up towards 12. Keep your legs bent in order to throw the board over your body. Spot the landing and adjust rotation speed by extending or retracting your legs. Absorb the landing and continue riding at a crosswind course.
When doing this inverted back roll, it's important to keep a few things in mind. Just after you take off, you want to be looking at 12 o'clock. Because when you look at 12 o'clock, it means you're throwing your head back and most likely your body will follow that movement. Next to that, it's very important that you stay compact. A compact form is easier to rotate than an extended form. So keep yourself compact in order to get that board above your body. And then, last but certainly not least, edge hard. It's important to build up that line tension, because when you build up that line tension, it will kind of catapult you out of the water and you can use that explosive power to actually get that board and throw it over your head. You can steer your kite in multiple ways for this inverted frontroll. You can do it on the classic way, where you actually just pop off the water, and that's what I'm doing in this video. But you can also decide to send your kite past 12 o'clock and make it a big send inverted frontroll. This is what I've been doing a lot during Red Bull King of the Air, where I go for a big inverted front roll and then a late front roll with a 1-footer. Personally, one of my favorite tricks, and this is something you can build up to when doing the inverted front roll. So it doesn't really matter how you steer your kite, just make sure that when you practice, you stick to one of them before trying the other. Like that, you're not gonna mix up the timings and you get the repetition right. Next up is an inverted front roll with grab.
Ride in with medium speed and steer the kite up from 45 degrees. Pull in your front leg as you pop off the water. Spot the tip of your board and retract your back leg in order to grab the tip. Throw your head back as you reach for the board and tension up your stomach muscles. Spot your landing and hold the grab for as long as possible. Land, absorb and dive the kite down in the wind window if power is needed. Ride out at a crosswind course.
Grabs can be easy or grabs can be hard. But something to really keep in mind is that you want to bring the board towards your hand and not the other way around. If I really try to reach out for the board, most likely it will throw me out of balance. An easy thing to do is pull in the leg on the side of which you want to grab, and that will bring the tip of the board very close to your hand and make the grab a lot easier. Next to that, you want to keep in mind that you really have to throw your head back to get that invert going. So, after reaching for your board and spotting that tip, throw your head back and go for that big invert. And with that, we get to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, give me a like. Subscribe if you want to stay updated with the latest content. I'll be releasing a couple of videos in the upcoming time. Comment if you have any questions or requests for the next essay masterclass. Because this is probably the last episode I'll be publishing this year. But next year there's gonna be an entire new series. So give me some thoughts on what you would like to see. For now I would say thank you very much for watching and I might see you in Cape Town.